Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is your video about the full moon in Taurus and lunar eclipse taking place on November 8th at 6 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Okay. We have so much going on here, so much changing in the energetic fields around divine counterparts at this time. It is a time with a lot of energy. To really understand the full scope of how this eclipse energy is impacting your life, which would be your union with self energy, please have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update. It's published right alongside this one and set as the trailer for the channel. So many of you ask in the comment section, I can't find it. Where is it? I'm not sure why you're not seeing it because they're published at the same time. But have a listen to that. And it's always at the tail end of this video, the linked video as the up next. I always link it for you guys, so feel free to have a listen to get the full picture. But this full moon and Taurus lunar eclipse energy is bringing forward a significant energy of the closing of a cycle in a chapter. I've spoken about this at length in the Lightworker energy updates prior to today. So the new moon in Scorpio, both the full moon in Taurus, both of those, I spoke a bit about this and what to expect and why this is a closing energy. And how to work with this closing to leverage a new beginning. And it will pertain as well for twins in general. Together, not together, speaking, not speaking, you'll find that that information is relevant to you. Especially because at that last new moon in Scorpio and at this full moon in Taurus, Venus is so heavily featured, and so too is Juno. And these two are our relationship planetary energies. Venus represents attraction, Juno represents commitment. And because they're both so heavily featured, there's some significant relationship themes to this particular lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse preceding it. I did first look again at this lunation for those of you who listened and loved that. I looked ahead at the new moon in Sagittarius on November 23rd in the Lightworker Energy Update so that you can understand what's coming. That one also heavily features Venus. So we've got a real relationship move and shake and bake and change energy here at these series of lunations. There's some real transformations in the world of relationship. And not just in relationship, but for anyone on an ascension path at this time. Those of you on this channel are on the ascension path linked that comes through the twin experience or comes through the experience of activation through the heart, through love. That particular journey is certainly heightened at this particular time. So let's talk a bit about the divine feminine energy first. I like to start here. Her energy, Juno, the wife of planetary energy, Jupiter, she works like glue in connection. Now, last time we were all together and spoke, she was retrograde at the time of recording. I think she was direct at the time of the new moon. Now she's more fully direct, although still in her retrograde zone, meaning she crossed over this space, then went backwards, then now she's crossing over it again. This part where she crossed over it the first time and this part where she crosses over it the second time, these are considered the retrograde zones. And so she's still in the retrograde zone at this time, and she's going to move toward the sign of Aries here as we get into January, is when she arrives in Aries. But here in Pisces, as she is now complete with her retrograde, she's having some interesting conversations. So, as glue in the connection, and we all have divine feminine energy, it's our energy of, flexibility and openness and receptivity. Men and women, regardless of gender identity, have this, or people who don't ascribe to a binary gender identity, they all have a divine feminine aspect to ourselves. Juno here is having a conversation with the South Node, which she has been, and I've been talking about this for the greater part of the year. South Node acts as a portal point. It's our release point. It's letting go. And in Scorpio, it's letting go of fear, shame, guilt, toxicity, manipulation, control patterns. Now, what's interesting as I've been talking about this is a union with self energy. As we move into deeper into this union window and its peak energy in January, I'm noticing more and more online in the comment section and generally speaking, a lot of people saying, instead of just releasing their scorpionic stuff and their shadow side of Pisces stuff, which is like spiritual attachment, manipulation, and control, wanting to anchor the connection in love out of fear or manifest the connection out of fear. What I'm hearing instead of people saying, I'm letting go of my toxicity, is people say, I'm just letting go of the connection altogether. I'll keep my toxicity. Thank you, which is what's implied when they say they're letting go of the connection. It's really important to recognize where there's a vibrational attunement that the connection is still very alive in your energetic space, whether the person is present or not. And let go, utilize this energy to be letting go of all the attachment and fear energy. It's a detoxification, it's a purge of all of the things that are blockages to true connection, to true love, anchoring here in the third dimension. It's important to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, cut off your nose, spite your face, that kind of thing. And you'll know if that's what you're doing because you may have said, oh, I'm letting go of the connection. And the person is still on your mind all day, every day. You're still getting readings about it. You still can't stop, reminiscing and ruminating. And so thank God we have an anchor point here for Juno, and that's Nessus. Nessus is helping us all to stay grounded in the purity of the connection while releasing any of the negative thoughts and feelings that have been generated by disappointment with the way the connection has unfolded up until this point. And so Nessus represents that OCD energy, that kind of energy of gotta have it, need it, want it now, now, now. It's that kind of clinging energy. And so with Juno and Nessus hanging out here in Pisces, making this aspect to this portal point, which is the Scorpio South Node placement, it's giving us a chance, because this is a harmonious aspect, it's giving us the chance to operate in the light with this, which is confronting our fears, confronting our shame, confronting our guilt, forgiving ourselves, having compassion for our process, and letting ourselves transform. Right? It's allowing us to let go of all the ways in which our attachment has held us hostage in the connection so that the love can manifest in real purity. And for some of you, even though your counterpart's absent, it doesn't mean your connection in particular is over. It might mean that there's just a next level of growth. So it'll be really important to not use your head in this energy, but instead to use your heart in this energy. And rather than trying to force something as a foregone conclusion in your feminine fields, where in the feminine fields, it's really felt like the divine feminine energy has been getting pushed around spiritually by the connection this last year. It'll be really important to stay in that soft space of tenderness for the way that has felt, that compassion. Darling, you've been through a hard thing. I'm so sorry for the way this has felt. Hug yourself, love yourself, give yourself some permission to feel This has, if it's been hard for you, let it be hard. Acknowledge that for yourself, right? Hold yourself in that place. And where it's true for you, notice that the love is still there, that the love is still real, that the love is still pure, right? And for some, it's even louder and brighter and more pure than it's ever been. That's your signal to know you're not actually done with the connection. You're actually just moving through more shedding and deconditioning so that your love doesn't have the trappings of the third world on it. The trappings of the third world ego, are their dimensional ego, are all about what I deserve and what's fair, and you should do this because I'm doing that. The minute we start having conversations about deservability, when we're talking about love, we're automatically placing conditions on love, because love and deservability don't go hand in hand. They're two different things. What you deserve, yes, healthy third solar plexus chakra, right? That's necessary to move through the earthly realms. You need it at your job. You need it with your friends. You need it with your family. Fine. But when you've been activated by love in the way that the twin experience yanks you and pulls you into shedding your attachment to third dimensional deservability, what you come to find is that love exists regardless of deserving. Love exists regardless of what another person's doing or not doing. And the minute we start talking about, well, I don't deserve X, Y, Z, and the following, what we're also saying is that the other person is not deserving of our love or of our light. We are automatically placing conditions on the truth of what love is, which is free, there for the experiencing and receiving. It's the glue that holds our realm together. It's the basis of where all of our manifestation comes from. It's how we got here on earth in the first place, right? The minute we start to say, well, I don't deserve, and and this person should, and I should, and they shouldn't, the minute we get into those head games that are born out of ego pain, we are automatically placing blocks on love. Now, that doesn't mean somebody's putting their hands on you, somebody's, cheating on you and coming in, having slept with, Mary, Sally, and Sue, and now wanting to give it to you. That doesn't mean you can't have healthy boundaries. But the way that we in the global culture have moved into transactional relationships that are all or nothing and quite disposable in the internet dating age. The way the twin connection operates is antithetical to, well, I'll just find somebody new because I deserve something better. Your heart will constantly yank you back to the classroom where the lesson in love is unfolding and saying, are you ready to talk about loving without conditions yet or not? And so as Juno moves forward, I know a lot of people who were 3-4 weeks ago having the I'm done, I washed my hands of my connection, it's all up to him now conversation, or it's all up to her now, I'm moving on, I'm manifesting a soulmate. You may find that through this lunar eclipse, the universe kind of calls you on the carpet a little bit and says, you know what? The divinity activation is still here. Uranus speaking to Juno. Your receptivity is greater than what you thought as a divine creator being incarnate. And your capacity to release what hurt you in the past is more present than your willingness to hold on to it, because it's just going to hold you back and guarantee you repeat it with a soulmate, even if you do, quote, move on with one, right? There's a deeper lesson in love unfolding here. And you'll know when you're really done because you won't have to say it. You'll know when you're really done because your heart will release you from it. You'll know when you're really done because at whatever time of the day, wherever you are in the world listening to this, you'll have long since unsubscribed from my channel. This will not be the priority to listen to and deal with in your world anymore. And it won't come from a head place, it'll come from a heart place of congruence. The thing about this kind of love for twins, and that we're all going to experience more of as the divine counterparts meet up in the sky together in the 4th degree of Aries here, even though it's a union window with self, when the counterparts come together in the sky, that activation of a love that is unifying, of heart, mind, body, and spirit, all pointing in the same direction. Once an activation like this is rare, it doesn't occur for everyone. Clearly, it'd be so much nicer. Earth would be so much nicer if it did. But once that happens, the game is on. Class is in session. The curriculum is love, and loving without any conditions on it. Conditions that you show up a certain way, that they show up a certain way, that they do certain things, don't do certain things. You will be presented with every unfathomable circumstance that would, in a normal human, one of the muggles, break love. It would cause love to end. You will be presented with every manner of those circumstances so that you can get it into your spiritual DNA that love, when it's real, when it's true, it knows no conditions. And again, I need to repeat this for those of you who have inner conflict around this because of abuse you've suffered in this lifetime at the hands of loved ones, parents, etc. Someone's putting their hands on you. Someone's making you physically unsafe. Boundaries are a good thing. You can still love. You can still be connected with good boundaries, right? But the lesson, once you've been activated by this level of love, isn't about having the courage or the, as we should say, and what it really is. And from our perspective as activated divine creator beings by love here incarnate, not having the courage, but not having the ego to just abandon ship and walk away, but instead having the courage and the love to say, you know what, darling, I see you're struggling with this. We've repeated this loop multiple times, and I love you enough to draw some good boundaries for both of us and to stand by you while you get some help and figure this out. Let's learn together. Let's grow together. Let's figure this out together. I'm going to heal. You're going to heal. We're going to heal together. And this is a much bigger kind of cosmic lesson that those of us who are the earthbound beings at this time are really learning. Because, you know, as much as some people say, ain't no global warming, you know, the level of pollution that our rivers and our earth and our air is making it harder and harder for us to stay tethered to it. There's no planet B. We have to learn how to stay connected with where we're at and love it enough to dig deeper. Leave no stone unturned, right? Rather than this kind of all or nothing transactional disposal. Well, you're not showing up correctly, so I'll just go over here to Mars. They're terraforming it anyway. I don't need to be here because you don't deserve me and I deserve better than this. Good luck on Mars with that. Good luck. So these are tougher mastery lessons, right? And I'm really not speaking to those of you who have just recently come into your twin experience. I'm speaking to those of you who have been in long-term separation, deeply heartbroken and disappointed by that, and who have been struggling to understand what was this all for as we enter the peak of this union window. Why did I have to go through this? And maybe it was for nothing. And maybe I can just throw it away and walk away. No, you can't. The lessons in love are yours for the lifetime, but the proper expression and embodiment of them is going to be through more than just the connection. There's ways in which this connection is going to express itself and groom you in love in your relationship with your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, and instruct you in love with that neighbor who will not shut up, blasting music at night, and instruct you in love with that classmate who's constantly trying to, put you down on your work or cheat off of your work in class, or that coworker. There are mastery lessons in love here by just submitting. Stop trying to get out of it. It's uncomfortable. Yes, we know. It's uncomfortable even for people in union. I speak to people in union regularly, and it's uncomfortable there too. But the only difference I have seen between people who are in some format of union and people who remain in separation for years is that the people in union are unafraid to look crazy in the name of love. They're unashamed to honor that the heart is still in it. They are, unabashed about giving it another try from a different angle with some new tools with their person. Like, yeah, it didn't work the last time, but neither one of us was in therapy for our issues the last time. Now we're both in therapy. It took us 14 years, but here we are. Let's see what happens this time. When you're done, the heart will let you know. Your head doesn't have to tell you. And until that point, yeah, you're going to look crazy to other people in the third dimension. And it's because you're not supposed to be fitting into their standards of love. You're supposed to be teaching them, guiding them, leading them around what love really is. So the advocacy here as the divine feminine rests in Pisces, which is all about release. And the south node here rests in Scorpio, which is all about confronting fear. The advocacy here isn't about throwing the whole thing away. Neither is it about going whole hog and giving it another chance. It's about looking at where is love demanding you forgive? Where is it demanding you have compassion? Where is it demanding that you evolve? Where is it saying that you've done the same thing over and over again? Enough. Try it from a new angle. They've been in and out with you. That's hurt you. Fine. Stay connected, but stop having sex. They can't hold the boundary. You hold it. Stand in your divine masculine energy and your evolved feminine energy with that. You don't have to throw the whole thing away and block them on every platform and social media and then go get 10 readings to figure out where they're at and if the connection's even going to come back to life. That's toxic. Knock it off. Don't do that to yourself in your connection anymore. And many of you have repeated that cycle numerous times in the last 7 years. It's okay to evolve past that, right? Some of you have been present, but you've not gotten the work. You've been willing to do every type of spiritual work, past life, Akashic records. You've been doing, meditation, Ho'oponopono. You've been sitting there praying. You've been manifesting. You feel like you've done it all. But what you haven't done? You haven't talked to a therapist. You haven't dealt with the issue with your mom. You've let that be at a standstill. And the standstill with your mom is directly mirrored in your connection with your counterpart. It is an exact replica. And now you want to throw the connection away? Like that, now you're just setting yourself up to repeat a cycle. Go to the place you've been unwilling to grow and work there. That's what this union with self energy is about. It's about going to the place where it's been hardest to face. Stand in that place, do that work, confront that issue. You're in an interracial relationship with your twin, and your twin is saying, I can't do this because I don't feel like you understand my race and my culture. Guess what? There's all kinds of classes on anti-racist activism and allyship. Admit you don't know enough and go get some support, right? It's okay to not know. It's okay to need help. What it's not okay to do is throw the whole thing away, have your heart still hooked into it, drop the kind of money I charge for a reading, and then want me to look at this when you're not doing your work, right? Or go to another healer or another reader when you're not willing to turn and face the hard thing. And in all of our divine feminine energy fields, I don't care what body you incarnated into, this is what's up for us. This is what's facing us. This is the darkness before dawn that we need to confront before we emerge on the other side of this union window. It's not pretty. There's some really difficult parts of ourselves that we're all needing to look at. For some people, it's addiction. For some people, it's things they're ashamed of. That, family ancestry kind of stuff. I talk to twins all the time. Yeah, I'm in an interracial connection, but my twin is, Latina, African American, from an oppressed culture. Why can't they just give that up to be with me? Why can't you just go someplace and learn how to be an ally? How about that? Right? How come you can't go to the place and learn what it's like to walk in their shoes and what they might need from an ally to have their back? Right? Taking that extra step to go to that extra place and really confront the places that scare us, the places we're ashamed of, the places we wish, like, oh my God, why does this have to be so? Why do I have to do this? Right? Why can't they do anything? That kind of blaminess is what this energy is asking us to release and stand in accountability for what's coming next, for what we're creating next. I don't know why you would have to do that, right? And frankly, I don't know that any reader is going to be able to tell you why, because many of you have been here far more than one lifetime. And yeah, if we were to just look at this lifetime, sure, it doesn't look fair. But if we looked at the sum total, it might actually be balancing things out. So I don't know what it's going to be for you, right? Why you, quote, have to work so hard. I don't know what the answer is, but I know if you were to really look in your heart during this transit, this eclipse energy, you're going to know exactly what you need to do, what you need to let go of, what you need to step into. And it's not going to be predicated on things that make outer world sense, but it will make sense in the heart space because it's guided by love instead of guided by thought forms, which are dictated by what the unevolved here on earth has set love up to be. So as we look at this full moon in Taurus, this divine feminine's full moon, my call to all of you who stand in the light and have taken a stand for love is to dig deeper. If you stand for love, stand for love. Release the need for this to look the way people in the outer world think it ought to, and the way your ego dictates it should. If your heart's still in it, trust it. That means class is still in session, and there's another layer. There's something deeper. Look at it. There's an urgency to this energy, which I talk about inside the Lightworker energy update, because this eclipse is the fourth in a series of, I think, about 6. And so we're coming to the close of this lesson for the divine feminine energy around releasing toxicity and toxic feminine patterns. And in the divine masculine energy, releasing a 12-year cycle as he moves into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and starts a new 12-year. About 1 sign a year for divine masculine energy. And this divine masculine energy moving into Aries once in 12 years, first sign of the zodiac. This particular one is special because he meets with Juno at the same time, also signaling the beginning of a new 7-year cycle for twins. The last time they met together was 2015. And so, where this energy has felt urgent, heavy, pressuring, consequential, it's because it is. It is consequential. There is something new opening up here. Thank God we live in a benevolent universe that will be able to repeat this lesson if we can't figure it out, whether it's years, decades, or lifetimes. But why do that when you could just do the work now if you know what it is? Yeah? Why bring that on yourself? Why delay love manifesting for you any longer when it's already right here guiding you and showing you what your next step is? For some of you, it's really figuring out your money stuff, right? Getting into a different relationship with the world of form. Some of you are too attached to money. Some of you are too unattached to money and need to figure out how to get independent on somebody else paying your way and starting to do what you need to do to be able to financially stand on your own 2 feet so you can be sovereign and open for this love to manifest in the third dimension. Some of you are so attached to money or unattached to money that it's like, okay, well, if it comes, it comes, it goes, it goes. I'll just go wherever I can to feed myself until my twin decides to save me financially from my unwillingness to deal with being incarnate in form. See how tricky this can be? It can feel like these things are unrelated, but they're all related to our sovereignty, our wholeness, our creatorship, our mastery, our capacity to really stand in love for another, but also being willing to stand in that love for ourselves too. Again, this doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's lots of ways to work this that doesn't require all or nothing separation or full on attachment and clinging. There's a lot of ways that love is looking to liberate us to experience it in its true form, which has liberation, has empowerment, encouragement, it has freedom, right? It has a permissiveness and a fluidity. It doesn't demand, no, you stay over there. No, you come over here and do what I need you to do. Manifest as a union with me. It doesn't, love doesn't have those kinds of demands. That's not love. That's something else, right? And so this energy is all pulling us into our next deepest mastery lesson with love. And it's going to be a hard one because it's looking us in the face and it's asking us to confront the thing we most would rather not have to deal with. And for some, can't even see why it's even related to our twin connection, but it is because it's in the heart, and the heart's been compelling us toward it since last year. So, whatever that is for you, by all means, lean into it rather than throwing your connection away to get away from it. All right, peoples, you all are masters. You can do this. That's what's going on in the glue and the divine feminine energetic field for those who are the twins, who are aware of the connection and have been wanting to understand how to work with this energy in their mastery. If you need some support really thinking through this, you can always book time in my calendar. There's about 4, I think, at the time of sharing this, 1-hour readings left in my calendar in the month of November, and 1 half-hour session left, and that's coming up in, I think it's the 17th. If you'd like to book it, by all means, please do. I'd be happy to work through the what is this for you conversation based on your individual chart. But I think based on everything I've just said, many of you, you kind of already know. So, if you don't, then yeah, let's go ahead and talk. Or if you're scratching your head a little, then yeah, let's go ahead and talk. I can help clarify it. But this is only amplified and exacerbated, like I said, by the Nessus energy. There's a sextile here to Pholus. Pholus represents where we're showing up, kind of heart and hand. We're doing the right thing, but we're talking to Pholus, and Pholus, there's the injury by kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the gift in this, in the sextile, is that this shows us our strength. It shows us our capacity for recovery and our resilience. Other people's, that phrase, when you don't heal your own wounds, you end up bleeding all over people who didn't cut you, right? The thing with Pholus here is that, yeah, in the divine feminine energy fields, especially at this point and just before, at the beginning of the year, at the top of the year, there would have been a lot of awareness of where in the connection, there's someone who didn't cut you who's bleeding all over you. But there's a mastery lesson in that, wow, okay, that really sucks. You have not dealt with your childhood issues or your trauma from your divorce. And now I am catching it. Wow, this blows. But what this does is it reveals to us the resilience of love. It reveals to us our own resilience and love's healing power. It reveals to us, yes, where we need good boundaries. Pholus sits in Capricorn. Capricorn's all about structure. Reveals that to us. But with Juno and Pisces, the sign of the all things, it also shows us how even in that circumstance, the love is still present. It's still all there. It's omnipotent. It's omnipresent, the love, which Pisces is that energy of. It's the energy of the omnipresent, the all things. So while this has been a heavy lesson this year, no one, like I said, no one is saying lay yourself down on the train tracks and let the train run over you. If you need to get up off the tracks, get up off the tracks. Stop participating in your own abuse, right? And simultaneously, where love is trying to help guide you into the place of understanding about how you got there, where the self-love and compassion is needed, how the other person got there, where the compassion and love for them is needed. That's the work here, right? Okay, so hopefully I've explained that clearly, because I've certainly shared things like this in the past, and certain people have said, well, my ex ran off with my best friend and left us with our 3 kids. I should forgive even that? And I'm like, either you got activated by love or you didn't. Either you know that you're here to forgive and grow and expand in this love, or you don't. Like, yes, self-compassion. You went through a hard thing, and love prevails. Question is, what are you going to do with it? Many of us, including you, have been through the unthinkable as this love has activated us. But part of the wisdom in that, the purpose of that, was to understand the power and potency and healing capacity that this love brings. This love trumps even that. All right. So, there's a lot of catalyst energy for new beginnings here, needing to let go of something that's probably very ego based here, that we've been holding on to, right? There's a lot of forgiveness work to be doing as she talks to the South Node, and some outdated modes of thinking going on to be released, right? As Juno speaking to Nessus, it's going to be like super easy to, unfortunately, like fall a bit into crazy town when it comes to like, okay, what do all the signs mean? Oh my God. And then this happened. It's going to be really easy to get lost in the signs and miss the destination. But this is what I'm trying to remind you of. It's not about the signs, about union, beings manifesting in a particular way. It's about really getting into what is love asking me to surrender next, to submit to the heart. Submit. You are not going to win this fight with your heart. So submit, give in. Let the curriculum of the heart school you in its evolution and in its growth. You'll know you're done when your heart is done and not a minute before. Your head does not need to intervene in this process. It's just going to delay things. Okay. So try to stay focused on your growth and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater or finding conclusions, and forcing yourself to jump to them. Well, they've been this way for years. They'll never change. You don't know. Love actually has a lot of transformative power. So too does prayer. And prayer and manifestation in my book are the same thing. Now, some of you are going to get in my comments and say, no, they're not. Fine. That's what you believe. That's what you believe. But it's the same thing in my book. So get into really stealing and sealing your mind around love is here. And I allow myself to learn the lessons of the heart so that love can manifest in the way that it is ready to in my life. It is going to require, with Scorpio as loudly in the mix as it is, you can see there is, what is this? Last eclipse, Venus, the sun, Mercury, the south node, and another eclipse before that. It's going to require some sacrifice. Not going to lie. There's a destructive energy to this. My hope is that it's a destruction of hope energy, which leaves us in an incapacitated place of doing nothing and instead empowers us to start working on where we really need to work. No spiritual bypass to this. It's going to be really critical to not try to intuit or draw cards or meditate your way into this. Yes, you can do those things, but there's also sometimes a good old-fashioned conversation is a lot better than getting a reading, like talking to your counterpart, especially with Jupiter speaking to Mercury this way. Do you like me? Yes or no? Check yes, check no, please check yes. Right? Just speaking up, being honest, opening up. I've mentioned multiple times this year where if you try to have a conversation, it's just going to get staticky. This isn't one of them. So if you feel the need to have a conversation at this time, do so. Try to leave the past and the baggage out of it. Do your forgiveness work ahead of time so that you can come with an open heart. Okay. This union with self energy is neither saying you cannot be with your counterpart, nor is it saying that you will be with your counterpart. It is saying you have work to do for any type of anything to happen with anyone else. Get on with it. Okay. Aries being the sign of the self and our ambition. It's the most self-integrated sign of the 12 because it hasn't begun the journey. It's still a singular self. So with the counterparts coming into union here, it's all about coming home, right? And the truth of who we really are is love at our core. You know that. You've been activated by this love. And so this is our opportunity to expand into that, to lean into that, whichever way love is guiding you. All right. All right. For those of you who are in union of some third dimensional form, whether you and your twin work together or you and your twin co-parent together, or run a business together, or are living together, or figuring out a relationship together, if you would be willing in the comment section under this video to just share what it is in the process of coming closer and closer to that union energy you had to confront in yourself that was hard to do, but shifted things in your connection once you did it. If you'd be, I know it's a lot of vulnerability to ask, but if you're willing to just share, yeah, in order for my union to manifest, this is what I had to confront in me. If you'd be willing to share that, that would really be instructive and illuminating for other twins at this time, especially because we have such loud messages going on in the outer collective around separation and divisiveness and strife and abandonment and cutting off. And you all know what's happening out there. But if you're willing to just talk, speak to another twin here in the comment section about how union unfolded for you. What was the one thing you didn't want to have to do that shifted everything? That would really help a lot of people. Even if it was something that, it was like, I didn't think this was related, but it was in the end. Or if it was something that was like, I didn't want to have to do this, but I needed to. It doesn't have to be an obvious thing, right? That would be fantastic. Thanks, beloveds. Let's talk about the divine masculine energy here. And of course, if you want to talk about this stuff privately, you absolutely can. Inside of a private session, I'm over at kmoonastro.com, and we can have a look at where you've been in the connection in a personal reading and where you are now and what the growth is right now for you in your connection in a personal reading. So feel free to book that over there. Like I said, there's about 4 1 hours left in November and a 30-minute left on the 17th. And then we start booking in December. This energy will still be very relevant then. Eclipse energy can be felt up to 60 days after the actual eclipse. So that gives us through January. For my twins in union, the one thing I'm noticing in this energy for you guys, before we talk about the divine masculine energy fields, is that this particular year 2022 has been demanding of twins in union to have a look at where there are either habits, behaviors, or patterns or ways of connecting that are slowing the connection down. Static, specifically emotional static and baggage tied to the past. Whether that's past before you met your counterpart, i.e., especially with South Node in the sign of Scorpio, having to do with sex and intimacy, sexual abuse themes around trauma in that way. Maybe your divorce with your ex has caused you to feel like I can't get close to my counterpart in certain ways because I'm still not over the way that went. This year, with Juno and Pisces speaking to the South Node and Scorpio the way she's been all year, would have put that stuff in your face and asked you, are you really going to let this stand in the way of oneness and love here? And so you may have found that therapy has been really necessary, or coaching has been really necessary, or shedding of an identity or a layer or an attachment to a self that you used to be is really necessary, right? I was that person who was always there for every single family member and friend. You may find that the connection is saying you can't actually do that or be that anymore. You have to actually balance that with being there for yourself and there for your counterpart in union, right? There's something in for twins who are in some form of third dimensional union that you too are being asked to release and let go of when it comes to the way you receive love and the flexibility you have when it comes to love. You may have been really shown this year where you've been very rigid when it comes to giving love or receiving love. This year would have really broken you out of that or shown you this connection will not stand if you cannot break out of it. You're going to have to learn in your divine feminine energy to bend and flex with your giving and your receiving, to forgive and have compassion. In your giving and your receiving, Pisces is a sign of forgiveness and compassion. Okay. All right, let's look at divine masculine energy here. We have divine masculine energy in Pisces, retrograding back, I believe. I think it goes back to like 28, certainly no more than 26 degrees, but I think it's only to the 28th degree before going direct again and getting back into Aries. In Pisces, Jupiter takes a more spiritual approach to things, a more internal, self-reflective approach. And with both our divine masculine retrograde and our human masculine energy retrograde, that's Mars here, and the two of them speaking to one another in square, this really presents a very interesting withdrawal of masculine light at this time in connection. Now, again, I talk about this a lot in each lunar update, but it bears repeating because there's always new people who join the channel. Each of you have both energies. Neither of you is all one or all the other. If you're trying to manifest union energy, you need to really be listening for yourself in both the divine feminine and yourself in the divine masculine shares that I provide. Because if you want to manifest union energy on the outside, externally, it's necessary to honor and own and hone and sharpen your own union energy on the inside, meaning your own masculine energy as well. So, as we move with this energy, you may notice that your feminine energy is kicking up. It's a little bit more loud, a little bit more noticeable at this time. The stuff we've talked about up until now. But the masculine energy, that energy of outward directedness, conscious intent, decisiveness, acquisition, provision, and protection, that part of you may feel a little bit quieter during this full moon lunar eclipse. It may feel like it's taking a little bit of a back seat so that you can have more time with your inner feminine energy at this time. And that's okay. That's a good place to be. This square here is giving the masculine energy an opportunity to start paying attention from Pisces and Gemini, are mutable signs where actions and intentions have not lined up, right? Where we could have made promises or commitments or actions that indicated one thing to people, only to be in retraction of those at this time. And this is going to give us revelation about what it is we truly can do, what we truly intend, what we truly want and feel. It's going to clarify where we're truly at. And so where you see yourself maybe falling a little bit short on certain commitments or certain actions or things, have a little grace, a little compassion for yourself, have some grace for other people, gracefully have the conversation. Hey, I noticed that you're doing this, 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 and this, which I interpreted to mean A, B, and C. But now I'm noticing you're doing X, Y, Z, and the following, which seems contradictory to that. Talk to me about what's happening for you. Help me understand. Right? So that's a quick script you can use with people where you're seeing conflict in behavior and intention or words and actions. You can ask in that kind of graceful, open-hearted way and give them the opportunity to really look in and see, yeah, you're right. Or no, that's not what I meant for you to interpret, but here's where I have confusion, right? There's a real need to examine where our own incongruences are in our masculine energy in this field. Again, none of this is indicating all or nothing. None of this is saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. To protect yourself, you have to withdraw your light all the way. That's not what this is. That's what people do when they're infatuated with the concept of twin flame, but they're not actually learning lessons of love, right? It was cute to have a really deep spiritual connection until it required really deep spiritual work, right? This is where we're really starting to see how ready and willing are we to be transformed by love, not just be in the infatuation conversation around being twins. Because this kind of love will transform your soul so that you can transform your life from the inside out. Okay? We've got a trine from Jupiter as well to Pallas here and Lilith. So there's a lot of emotional protectiveness happening with this spiritual change. I can see there's probably also a lot of like, yeah, just some of the more rich emotions, like high relief, bright color emotions, anger, sadness, happiness, chemical attraction, right? These things that are like that really imprint upon us emotionally, not the more nuanced ones. These things are probably quite loud at this time. Um, so, and you may find that even though they're there, people in your world aren't really saying anything about it. They're quietly seething or flirting with the eyes, but not saying anything, right? Some of these really stark emotions can be there, or like core emotions, like 7 core emotions might be happening. The time, if there's not talking about it yet, the time will come. Sometimes a little bit of inner exploration is needed with Mars and Jupiter retrograde to facilitate an opening up. We get Jupiter's more direct energy in December, although congruence doesn't really come online with follow through until January when Mars is done retrograding. Okay. We also have, let's see, we didn't talk about the sextile to Pluto yet. And so Pluto and Neptune with Jupiter is bringing spiritual transformation energy. This is like a hot and holy shakedown energy where life is really presenting in our divine masculine energy fields. Like, listen, if you want XYZ to change in your life, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to let go of this and you're going to have to do that. And there's no escaping this kind of truth in this energy, but that's okay too. We're mastery creators incarnate. We can do it. We got this. Might take us a second to reconcile it all, but we can do it. And it creates a bit of like an awakened awareness energy here. I know a lot of you want to know, is my person awake to the connection? I don't know. I have no way of ever knowing that. But what I can say is that whatever your person's next step in integrating love into their life and being a leader in love, whatever that is for them, some of you can see it from the outside. And that's good because that's your mirror. For some of them, it's like standing up to a controlling parent, or for some of them, it's like finally going back to school and finishing that bachelor's, or and believing in themselves that they can do it. Or for some people, it's like, finally leaving a marriage or going for custody, or you know getting out of agreement that their sickness is going to be with them for life, and actually doing something to heal, right? I don't know what your counterpart has going on, but what I can say is whatever it is that's going to make them a stronger leader in the world of love, that's on their mind right now. That's being presented to them right now. And so, again, speaking to the people who are in more separation energy than connection, if you can find a way to hold the love you have for them as a cheering for them in their evolution, instead of a yearning and yanking on the connection as a manifestation, as a marriage, you're going to find that this has more room to bloom and blossom in whatever wild and wonderful way that love has in store for you. Okay. And that's what I got at this lunation. It's a great time for transformation and growth. It can be a challenging time to really see your own stuff. So if you need help with that, by all means, you can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. This energy will be in effect. Eclipse energy tends to be in effect 60 days before, 60 days after. We're hanging with this energy through late December. So if you need some support, the link is below this video. And for those of you who are in union, if you would be willing to share what it is you ended up needing to release in order to allow the love to anchor, that would be fantastic. That would be wonderful. You can share that below. The Lightworker energy update includes first look at the Sagittarius new moon coming up in 2 weeks. So have a listen to that if you're curious. Take great care, everyone, and bye for now.